All right, we are broadcasting, but are we on? Are we live? Are we actually? What Book Watch Live by Morphology tier list? Here we go.
According to YouTube, no. I think it'll go live at 8 o'clock. So that's
Ah,
30
okay.
seconds from now.
All right. Well, we've got one person waiting.
Me. I was making sure it were. Oh, we're live.
We're live. Here we go. All right. Let's go. Cool. Hey everyone, welcome to Bug Watch. I'm your boy Risley, also known as David Little in the rest of the world, and pretty much on the internet as well. Um, I am. We're trying something new today. We saw the uh, balanced data slate come out, and we saw some big changes for Tyranids. Not the most straightforward changes, right? They're not like, oh, this is cheaper and this is stronger now, or anything like that. It is a little bit weirder. So what we decided to do, I recruited the help of good Tyranid player Ed. Say hi, Ed.
Hi, I'm here to gribble.
Yeah, and we're going to discuss biomorphologies because biomorphologies, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Remember when you could pick those at the start of the game? I remember. It was
Remember?
great.
Oh man, yeah, it was just great times. It was just great times had by all.
It was.
But yes, so before we go into it, if you are watching now, and I doubt you are, like and subscribe. That would be lovely. And yeah, all right, we'll crack on with it. So I'm going to try. So we have hijacked Chris's live system, and I have no idea how it works. So this is going. We're all going to learn together.
We're
We're all going to
incredibly
learn together.
competent and we know what we're doing.
Exactly. All right. Let's see. I haven't paid for the fancy for the fancy you know pro account on the tier list because I'm not a mug, right? So we're gonna do a bit of it's gonna look really shit, is what I'm gonna say. Right, all
I
right.
just want to point out that this is the Plus Northern contingent. We are the two most northern. You can tell because you sound like it, and I look like I've got a fucking asbo. So,
Well, Nottingham calling yourself Northern, that
mate,
is pretty
mate, I was
impressive.
born in Hartlepool. I'm a monkey
Oh,
murderer.
all right. So let's explain this to um
Oh, let's not.
to anyone
Why have I
because I
done
think
this?
you yeah. Let's just clear that up, right? So in Hartlepool, and then Ed will correct me where I've got this all wrong.
Mm,
In Hartlepool, there is a myth, an urban legend. Hartlepool is a town in the north of England that a monkey arrived on a boat from France, and the
yeah.
monkey got off the boat and stayed there, and the French went away, and the monkey stayed there, and the people of Hartlepool, ever vigilant, some might say, or stupid, you might also say, thought the monkey was a French spy and therefore hung the monkey.
Mm.
And they have been forthwith known as the monkey hangers.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Really proud of my heritage. So, moving on swiftly.
Moving on swiftly, more like, all right, let's go.
Hey,
Let's go. So we are going to talk about biomorphologies. We've got all the ones here, so you can see my screen head, right?
I can indeed.
Wonderful. We've got all the lurk ones here, also known as the good ones. Um, we've got I think it's hunter, the green ones, and the yellow ones are feed. Am I right?
That is correct.
Lovely. All right. So we're going to go through each one of these and we're going to put them in an order of build around. So I think, and by all means, Ed, we can edit this as we go
Yeah,
because I
of course.
haven't paid for the professional and we're literally streaming the editing screen of this tier list. um, so build around is what I was thinking. When you're building your list, you would want to include this as like, this has to be a part of what I'm doing. Then nice to have. Okay, maybe my build around isn't the best thing for this game, so I'm going to move into this space, and it'll be useful in some points. Then I've got trying too hard. Sorry, oh God, grammar. That's terrible. Trying too hard to polish a turd. That is if it is. It sounds all right, but you have to really jump through hoops to make it work, and probably isn't worth it. Then I've just got bad because some of them are just bad. And then finally, ripper poo, which is the worst thing I could imagine a Tyranid having to deal with.
So I've got to say, I really like. No, no, no. Two things. First of all, I really like that two of them are to do with fecal matter, but it's not the bottom two. There's something in between the two levels of shit. There's this shit. It's bad. Oh, it's really shit. And also, do rippers poo? I thought the whole point of the Tyranid High Fleet was consuming the biomass, going back to the ships, and then just being melted back down. But that could be old fluff because it has been probably since third edition since I last read about Tyranid.
I think we'll have to. I think that's a question for the
Lewis.
The show next Tuesday. So let's get that in the Discord.
Absolutely.
Do rippers poo? All right. If anyone else could put that in for us, that'd be much appreciated. All right.
Not too lazy.
On with the lists, or in this case, the biomorphologies. So, first one, I thought we'd start off strong, Ed. I thought I'd start off strong. Territorial instincts. So, for those who don't know, basically, monster models with this adaptation have the objective secured ability. Great. But monsters with this adaptation that have a wounds characteristic of 10 or more, count as 5 models when having obsec. So really strong. Really, really strong. And something we've seen a lot in all the lists that I've reviewed on Bugwatch recently. For me, it feels like a build around. It's something you only take this if you are planning on having loads of monsters in your list. Have you got anything to add to that, Ed?
Yeah, absolutely. It's my favorite way of playing Nids, Monster Mash. It's not as good as it was ever since they made Tyranid scoring significantly worse. But I think it's got to be, for me, at the top of the build around because it is the one that changes your playstyle the most, in my opinion. The other ones you can go, I've got a defensive bonus that I'm leaning into. Great, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to go, I'm going to take this instead. It's the one where you go, my entire list are monsters. And I'm just going to hit you in the face. Or maybe you can go for a little bit more nuance in the middle, but no, just more monsters.
Yeah. No, I think we've started off strong here, right? We've picked up probably the best one.
Absolutely.
Although, I think this. So it's interesting, isn't it? Because obviously Tyranid, all the monsters went up, and Maliceptors have gone up in points. Even like Tyrannifexes went up in points when no one was using them.
I was.
Carnifexes went up in points as well. So it potentially, I suppose, it got a nerf in a sense, right?
Yeah, I think it might still be the best way to play them. The problem is, so I was playing Monster Mash back around this time last year, and that was fantastic. And then they got rid of Stranglehold. Now, Stranglehold was the secondary that really carried monster lists because you didn't have to care about specific scoring that monsters really struggle with. So now, Nids, you kind of feel like you've got 1.5 or 2 secondaries, but you really don't have a third one. And that's, I think, mostly because of the change to the secondaries that they brought in with Nephilim.
That's fair, yeah. That's fair. You've really got to lean into primary then, haven't you, if you're not scoring your secondaries so strongly. Yeah, I mean, that's probably why we're seeing it so often. Another one we are seeing quite often, though, Ed, is naturalized camouflage. So for those who don't know, naturalized camouflage, basically, each time a ranged attack is allocated to a model with this adaptation, while it is receiving the benefits of cover from a terrain feature, add an additional 1 to any armor saving throw made against that attack. So you get +1 to your armor save while you're in cover.
This is the one that I opened the codex and went, holy shit, I want to build around this. I'm going to take the Broodlord and I'm going to use as imperative, and my entire army's going to have +2 to the save. And then I read it again, and that doesn't work. And suddenly it's really not that exciting to me.
Yeah, if you can't already benefit from cover, then this isn't really working for you. So it's also it's kind of like the antithesis of what you want your territorial instincts list to be.
Yeah.
The interesting thing here is as well is this sounds great on GW terrain because it has bases. Sorry, people who watch Bugwatch regularly will be sick to death of me talking about how this is good on GW terrain because it has a base. In UKTC, it's terrible. Well, not a terrible, strong word, but it's not as good because
I think terrible is an accurate word for UKTC because you're not going to be at the moment on UKTC. If you're touching terrain, you're being shot, and that's just not good. That's really not good. There's nothing.
It depends how many t-shirt cannons and mortars there are.
Yeah, you can put your entire army in that back big 9-inch L and then just lose the game because you've got no points instead of lose the game because you got no models. I mean, either or, eh?
There is that.
Yeah.
There is that. And as well, the thing that really sucks with this, and I've seen some conflicting views on the old, what would you call it? The Discord about whether or not this comes into effect when things like Tau have ignored the benefits of like cover.
There doesn't need to be any
I agree.
discussion.
I'm with you, Ed. I just think you just
If
can't
you
get the
can
benefit.
read and you understand the English language, there is no argument to be had. Like I didn't
Well,
realize there was a dispute. If
there
anyone
is.
comes across this and is unsure, there is no dispute. If you are
Yeah.
receiving the benefit of cover from a terrain feature, which you're not, because you don't have, a save because they're ignoring cover, you don't get it. If you're stood in the middle of the board and you're in dense cover and they ignore light cover, you still get +1 to your save. That's cool. That's a nice little trick that you can have there.
Hmm.
But if they ignore light cover, you're stood in light cover, you're not getting anything.
No, 100%. So, where do you think naturalized camouflage lives?
Where would you like to put it? Because you sound more positive on it than me.
I am on certain terrain sets.
Yeah.
I think it probably sits in the middle, I think, of nice to have.
Yeah, I was going to say the bottom of nice to have. I think the
Mm,
change that's just come in with the change to being able to pick your sorry, your biomorphology at the start of the game, that's the saving grace. You should
yeah,
never write your list around this. The game's too lethal. You're just not going to get it against a lot of armies like Tau. Imperial Fists, we all know they're a big meta threat at the moment. Some Eldarlis, yada yada. There's plenty of stuff that ignores cover. But, if you see a list that you go, hold on, actually, that extra +1 to my save is going to be huge. Sure, you can have, pseudo Terminators with your Pyrovores. That was
yeah.
when it was God, I remember when the book came out. 30-point Pyrovores with their 1-up saves with this. Oh, those were the days. I got rolled
And
over by
welcome to
Kronos.
Nostalgia Time with Dave and Ed, where we talk about how great 170-point harpies were with 2 heavy venom cannons.
I didn't even use them.
Did you
When
not?
I started using them? When they were nerfed.
Oh no, these are too good. I can't use these.
No, there was just too much other stuff that was good.
Fair, fair.
Because my lists were built around territorial instincts, so
Mhm.
there was no point. I was like, well, a harpy is a monster, but it can't hold objectives, and therefore bad.
That is. Annoyingly, I wish it could hold objectives when it came into hover mode. That would actually make it
In
interesting.
so pre 9th edition codex, you could,
Oh, really?
because it lost all the rules that gave it that. If it lost its hover, like if it decided to hover, because you
Oh.
could do some jank with Crusher Stampede, I remember, which made it
You
obsec.
could
I
spend a
think
CP to give something obsec in the command phase, right?
that sounds about right. Yeah. Remember the 2 weeks when Crusher Stampede and the 9th edition book overlapped? Oh, I remember. Yeah,
It's good
great
fun times.
times. I
So,
didn't play it, but
no, but I enjoyed listening about other people having fun.
I loved
Um,
seeing the tears.
yeah. I've heard Inez Wilson talk about it a few times as well, actually. He's
Yeah.
very hot on that. All right. Next up, we have synaptic ganglia. So there's another one of my sneaky favorites here, Ed, actually. So for those who don't know, you can reroll your deny the witch tests. And each time a psychic power is manifested by a unit with this adaptation, increase the range by 3 inches. So you're doing 21-inch smites.
Hmm.
You are doing 21-inch catalysts, things like that, which comes into play a lot more than you think it would.
Yep. Have
So
you
I
played
did
again?
this.
Have you used this?
I have. I took a list that I thought was really cool and janky to a
Mm.
GT, and it was what some people like to call cheating. Um, so what I did was, here's the plan. Here's the premise, right?
Yep.
So I took this 3 squads of zoanthropes, and then I
Uh-huh.
also took the other one, which is relentless hunger,
Yep.
which is in the feed one, which is whenever you fail a charge, you can move 3 inches, right? So
Okay.
my theory on this was zoanthropes, fire and fade,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So you stick your head out, you smite something, and then you just
Uh-huh.
move away. However, I was under the impression at the time that you could decide to fail a charge. So I'm going to declare my charge
Uh,
here. I've passed it, but I'm not going to do it, and I'm just going to move 3 inches instead. It turns out that's not a rule, Ed,
no, that's not a
and
rule.
I found that out on the morning of the GT.
Oh, well, at least you found out before.
So funny story. I had to just try and charge stuff and fail on purpose and
Yeah.
CP it if I passed.
Yeah.
So, so I charged a squad of berserkers with a neurothrope and passed it twice, a 9-inch charge twice. So neurothrope got bop,
That is
and
rough.
yeah, it was funny. It was funny. I think I
Yeah.
still went 3-2 though, so I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah. More
It
than
was
you
silly.
deserve for re-rolling
Absolutely.
charges into. I love CP re-rolling into fails.
Yeah.
Like from a success, there is sometimes that it is actually worthwhile.
Oh yes, absolutely. But what this was really cool, and this was when Grey Knights were actually quite good for a second.
Yeah. Oh God.
And this is horrendous versus them. Great against T-Suns as well. Your re-rolling the denies is really nice. In
Mm.
fact, I actually drew a Grey Knights player with that list, and he just decided to not play me.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. He just dropped from the tournament.
Oh, so what you're saying is you went 2-2 and you got a buy.
No, no, I played someone. No, no, I went 2-3. I went 2-3 because I played someone who had not won a game all weekend with
Yeah.
Custodes, and they're
Okay.
four up, they're four up mortal wound, feel no pain, and that
Yeah,
was
that
a
was
rough
pretty
game.
rough.
That was a
That
rough
was pretty
game,
rough.
and you know what? I made his weekend, so I'm happy with that.
How magnanimous of you.
Yeah, indeed. So no, in realistically, I quite like this, and I
Mm.
do think I think it is a nice to have
Hmm.
because you might come up against Grey Knights and go, oh, I've got enough psychic presence here to cause them a lot of problems,
Hmm.
and it's worth dropping in.
Hmm. I think top are nice to have. I think it's very rare that you pick it, but when you do pick it, it's an absolute game changer.
Yeah,
The
I'm with you there, man.
the one time I've seen it was when I was playing a Nid mirror match. He was also playing Kronos. It was disgusting. I felt like I couldn't do anything.
Hmm. Oh, so you've played against this with Kronos with this?
Yeah. I was playing my
Ah,
Monster Mash Jorgmunda, I think it was. He
yeah,
was playing Kronos and he picked this because you could pick before the game. And I
yeah,
was like, oh, that might be a problem. And it was a problem.
yeah. Because obviously they've got the stratagem to do mortal wounds whenever you fail a test as well, right?
Yeah, I don't
I
think
don't know
it
if it's
counts
any
on a
good. 'Cause,
deny, but it was brutal. I didn't get as many of my important cast off as I needed to, that's for sure.
yeah, we've got a question from Chris Brown in the chat. With how bad those armies are, I assume he means the Custodes for Fiona Pin against mortals. How often do you see them at events? Not so much anymore. I think people moved over to Shadow. Oh, you'll know Ed.
Shadow Keepers, I think it is.
That was it. Yeah.
So Solar Watch is really good.
So
Shadow Keepers is pretty good, but I think it's kind of gimmicky. It's my favorite, but I think it's gimmicky. We might see it more because in the data slate that dropped yesterday, you now can't put, I believe, the turn off rerolls and the transhuman on the same squad, which is fine if you're shadow keepers because that -1 strength can kind of do the same thing. It's a little
mhm,
a
mhm.
little more janky, and you've got to line up your targets better, but I don't know, it can work.
Oh, you meant the psychic heavy ones like T Suns and Grey Knights. It
Oh
depends
yeah,
on.
yeah. You don't
Yeah.
see them anymore.
No, no. Funnily enough, they've disappeared. It's
we're
interesting.
we're talking about extinct armies. We're talking Tyranids versus Grey Knights. So
Yeah.
uh,
Well, this is it.
yeah, Grey Knights I
In
think actually have a lot of play now.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
In the
hot.
meta at the moment, I think if you'd have asked me last week, naturalized camouflage will probably be a little bit stronger with the mortars in the indirect,
Mm.
um, but still, I think we've got it in the right place. Synaptic Ganglia, I think generally it just sits in that place, just in case you pull one of those opponents.
I hate to tell you, buddy, but mortars and indirect has not got anywhere.
No,
Um, it's
not
the
now.
only slight change is it now guard mortars don't ignore the -1 from your venom thropes.
All right, that's the only change, is it?
That's literally the only change to indirect.
Okay.
People might lean away from the Desolation Marines a little because it's harder to score Codex Warfare. It's capped at 5 for your Devastator,
True.
but they might still just take them and table you. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
That's a plan. That is a
that
strategy.
old chestnut.
All right, I've got a really special one for you. Are you ready? You ready?
Hmm.
Exoskeletal reinforcement.
Hmm.
Each time an attack with an armor penetration characteristic of -1 is
Hmm.
allocated to a model with this adaptation, that attack has an armor penetration of 0 instead.
When you say special, you mean it's the short bus, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's. I think we might be getting our first entry into one of the bottom two. In
Yeah.
fact,
When
actually, you know what? I'm gonna go straight in and go rip a poo.
is that too harsh? Um, Let me just have a
When would you
think.
take this over any of those other four?
So if I was playing into AdMech that was only running Vanguard, that meta army. Yeah, no, AP1 just doesn't exist in meaningful quantities.
Hmm.
Um,
It's not even -1 from the AP, right? It's not even
That's
Armor
the
of
good
Contempt.
version. Yeah. If it
Yeah.
was Armor of Contempt, I'd say, okay, cool. Still don't take it, but cool.
All right, let's chuck it in there.
Yeah, okay, okay. I feel like that might be a tad harsh, but I also don't care for it. So
I
fuck
also,
'em, that's why.
I don't owe them anything. All right.
Yeah.
Next one. I'm just looking at the time and I'm like, we should run through these, otherwise we'll be here forever. Unfeeling resistance, Ed. Unfeeling resistance. Models with this adaptation whose characteristics can change as they suffer damage are considered to have double the amount of wounds remaining for purposes of determining what those characteristics are.
Try and sell this
Ed,
to me. Try and
is
sell it
this
to me.
shitter? Is this shitter? Right, okay, so Ed, here's
Yeah.
Ed, I've got the list for you, right? Are you ready for
Mhm.
this? So
Yep.
I know you like your Tyrannosaurus. I know you like your Maliceptors,
Mhm.
and I know you like your Hive Tyrants. What if you just
Mhm.
took only those,
Okay.
3 of each? So we're talking 9 models, right?
Yeah, that is pretty typical for a Tyranid army at the moment.
Yeah, and when they get hurt,
Uh-huh.
instead of getting slightly worse, they'll stay the same. How about that?
That is a compelling argument. Here's the thing. I don't think. Let me just have a look. Yeah. So I don't think it actually works for Maliceptors, rules as written. I could be wrong on this, but
Really?
because it's not the characteristics
You're right. Yeah.
specifically, it's a special rule with its own table. I
Yeah.
think it doesn't affect the Maliceptor's mortal
Oh my
wounds. So
God.
if we
What
go
a
back to,
trash.
yeah, mate, it's bad. So here's the thing: you're going to be taking solely monsters. You know what you could take if you're taking solely monsters? The one that's right at the top, territorial instinct.
Territorial
Like,
instincts.
even if that didn't exist, I'd be like, I don't love it. Like, people don't go, oh, I'm going to play Iron Hands. Why? Well, my vehicles count as double. It's everything else they have. I don't think I've ever seen anyone take this trait and be happy about it.
Yeah, I think, guys, if you're listening to this, which you're probably not, again, do the same joke again. Um, just get your black marker, open up your Serenade book, and just black marker out that one. And just put an arrow going up to territorial instincts. Cool. As well, I think with Carnifexes being so strong at the moment, in terms of like what monsters are good, Carnifexes don't benefit from that either. So,
True, true.
so it's only what four models in your army that's going to benefit from that. And as you say, they'd rather have territorial instincts. All right, next
Yeah,
one.
yeah, that was it. I've got nothing.
So we're moving into Hunt now. Ed, synaptic goading at the start of the first battle round. Endless multitude units with this adaptation can start the battle wholly within your deployment zone. Can because you can forward deploy Hormagaunts, right? No. Can make a normal move up to 6 inches. So it's a 6-inch pre-game move for your chaff.
So you actually can forward deploy your Hormagaunts, which is why the wording is this way. The thing is, you can only do it in Crusade.
Ah, all
Yeah.
right.
So
Sorry.
you know how I
Sorry,
found
I'm
that
not a
out?
loser, mate. Sorry, mate.
Well, no. So yeah, Crusade.
Apologies to
Who
all you
plays it?
Crusaders.
So you see these are the Tyranid data cards, and I bought these because I wanted to have them for my Synaptic Imperatives because it just felt like the fair way to play against my opponents. I could put them on the table, flip them over, you know, show them this is what I've used, put it in a different pile, yada yada. And I was rifling through, and at the start of one of my games, I was like, "Oh, cool! Here's a strat for forward deploying. That would actually be really smart." And I tried to do it into another Tyranid play, and he's like, "What are you talking about? It's not a thing." I was like, "No, no, look at the thing. Look at the card." And he's like, "Yeah, that says Crusade on it." So it turns out you can't do that.
Turns out no.
Yeah.
So can I give you my hot take on this? So I've seen people take this list
Uh-huh.
for on Bugwatch with Synaptic Goading, loads of dudes. And for me, it would be really cool if we were like orcs and we were quite durable, or a little bit more durable, and we could take a punch, but we can't. So moving up all your so to get the benefit of this, you need to take loads of Hormagaunts, Termagants,
Mm.
Gargoyles. If you do that, you can't hide them.
Yep.
If you can't hide them and you go second, half of them disappear.
Yep.
And as a result, that's not a great thing. If you go first, you move them 6, then you maybe get some charges off. Great. But you still just melt by turn 3. And therefore your opponent just goes, thanks for all these objectives and all these no prisoner points. Cheers.
So where do you want to put them?
I think this is the classic. I'm trying too hard to polish a turd. I've read
Okay.
this and I think it's great. I'm going to chuck in loads of stuff. Oh no, it doesn't work.
So I think even though it's not a play style I enjoy, I definitely feel more favourable about it.
Okay.
I think it's terrain dependent, first of all, But
Mhm.
if you think about the UKTC ruins, there's always one that's just outside of your deployment. Obviously, we
Mhm.
play a lot of UKTC. Um, so you can have one squad staging into there immediately. But the nice thing about it is you don't have to use it aggressively. Kind of sucks if you don't go first, but
Mhm.
you can put that one squad aggressively forwards, and then everything else that you've kind of put on the line, you can then squish back in to cover if you do go second. So I
Nice.
think for me, I would put it. I think the problem with this is it's not. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's a great build around, but I think it is something you can build around. So I'd say bottom of build around for me.
Interesting. Okay, we'll put it there. I suppose that's quite nice against something like World Eaters, right? Because if you have got the pre-game move, you can
Mm,
just push one squad up and go, great,
yeah,
have them,
cool.
and then and then the rest of them run away.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. On a map where you've got that sort of 18-inch apart, it also gives you forward deploy in an army that doesn't have forward deploy. Yes, I am denying your existence, Gene Stealers.
Hmm.
But it gives you on the mission where you don't get CP until you stood on an objective, some CP early game, which is funny enough where we played, and you didn't get any CP for the first two command phases of the game.
It was a tough day. That was a tough
Yeah.
day. That was a tough day. All right. Ed, heightened reflexes. Units with this adaptation can fall back and shoot at -1 to hit.
Eh.
Yeah, I've seen a really good list with this. With I think it was Christopher Herrera. I think it was him. Apologies if I got that wrong. He won a RT2 with this,
Mm.
and I think it was. Sorry if I got that wrong. But he put it on exocrines, and that was quite fun. He had 3 exocrines in his list, but still, I
Why are
think
you
it
getting
is.
charged? Why are your exocrines getting
Oh,
charged?
because he had also territorial instincts. So
Oh, okay. Okay.
so he's
I hadn't
getting up
thought
the
about pairing
field,
the two of them.
getting charged, and then
Mm,
falling back and shooting things, which was quite interesting.
I don't hate that actually.
No, I don't either, and it
Yeah.
was it was pretty cool. But I do think it is. I think it's probably either top of this or
I
bottom
think
of
top
nice to
of,
have.
yeah. And I
Yeah,
assume he also ran 9 pyrovores as well, because they're the only
I,
other
I think
good
he did something along those
tanky
lines.
shooting unit that we can take.
Hmm. Interesting, but yeah, I think it's all right in that one. All right, adrenalized onslaught. Each time a model with this adaptation makes a consolidation move, it can move another 3 inches to a maximum of 9. So what you've got here is spring-loaded hormigons,
Yeah, that is true.
but still, I think your opponent has too much um, control over how effective this is.
Yeah, I mean, so it's great. It is genuinely a nice buff to have, but is it enough to take as half of your trait? That's where
No.
I'm falling down. It's a really nice melee trait that's in the same box as one that I think is better. So I think that really hurts it. If, not to spoiler myself, augmented ferocity didn't exist, I think I'd be a little more high in it. But
Mm.
it is an effect that you can kind of get without having to put half of your trait into it. You're probably going to be running the oh god, I've forgotten its name, the parasite,
Hmm.
and that gives you that as an imperative that you
Imperative.
can just put
Yeah.
on one turn. So the turn that you want to use it. So I can't say I love it.
Yeah. No, I'm the same. Are we talking bad or ripper?
I think it's trying too hard to polish a turd because it's a good effect, but it's just
Mm.
limited by other things. Yeah, I agree. Sort of the bottom of that section makes sense to me.
Very nice. Augmented ferocity. You're a fan.
Yeah,
Oh, so for
yeah,
those who don't know, +1
fantastic.
to charge.
Yeah. I mean, when is that not good? The best
Yeah.
bits of the Nid book are the melee at the moment. It's weird because the way the sections are named, I wouldn't necessarily build around it. But if we're
Hmm.
using that as like a pseudo S tier, I'd say I'd put it just behind territorial, or maybe yeah, just behind territorial
Cool.
instincts. Because I think if you're not taking territorial, it is the best one to take. I
Yeah, I
can't
think
think of
that's
anything
reasonable.
better.
Um, I don't know. I think you might be right there.
Mm.
Ambush predators. How do you feel about being space wolves for the game?
See, that's fantastic. That is
Mm.
genuinely really good. And I would be tempted to play Territorial Instincts paired with Ambush Predators. I think that's
Yes.
genuinely
That
like a
was
good
one of
combination.
the first thing I saw when I read the book, and you can ask
Yeah.
Rob Campion, fellow 6++er. We were trying to build a list where you just did that,
Hmm.
and you just sat on objectives and growled at people.
Yeah.
However, What I find with tournament play and heroic interventions is you feel like a dick when you gotcha someone with it. So you don't gotcha them and you say, "Do you know I can heroically intervene there? Are you trying to stay out of heroic intervention range?"
Yeah.
And then they go, "Oh yeah, I am," and then then half your abilities in the bin.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the same boat. I've never catch someone out with a heroic personally. But I guess the way you use it is you put your model in the center of
Yeah.
the objective. So if they want to tow onto it, they can't without being hit. I
Mm.
think that's the use of it. But
Where do
you
you
are
feel like
right.
this is going?
Um, nice to have. Like I
Mm.
wouldn't. You'd have to build around it to use it, but I wouldn't say it's a build around trait personally.
Would you rather have that or synaptic ganglia?
Um, Oh, that's difficult because I think I would argue synaptic ganglia is higher up the tier for me because
Me
when it's
too. Yeah.
good, it's real fucking good.
Yeah.
Ambush predator's kind of just like, oh, I'm gonna change something up. I haven't really got anything. They're playing world eaters. I don't know that I want to get extra
Yeah.
charge range, so fuck it. I'll just take the ambush predators.
I mean, who tiptoes onto objectives and doesn't charge you now? Which army does that?
Oh, lots of them. Elves,
Eldar?
yeah,
Yeah. So
elves,
maybe
gene
against Eldar that would be
stealers,
worthy. Oh, Gene Stealer Corp for sure. Yeah.
yeah. Anyone with like loads of obsec.
Mm,
Just anyone with bloody obsec, basically. Why
fair.
fight if you don't have to?
Yeah. It's also not great on carnifexes, right? Because you heroic into something, you probably don't kill everything unless you're a screamer killer, perhaps. Um, and then they just consolidate onto the objective, probably have at least two models there, and then you've lost the
Hmm.
objective.
Yeah, I guess it depends on whether they've got obsec. Like if you're using it to defend an objective,
Mm,
but then why would they tow on if they
yeah.
weren't obsec?
This is what I mean, right? It's never I've never had this, and I have played it a couple of times. I've never had
Yeah.
it when I've went, that was the best pick, whereas the next one, Ed, the next one is fucking hot.
Hmm.
I love it. Are you ready for this?
Hmm.
Wreath in Shadow. So Wreath in Shadow, what it does is it turns off every time you declare a charge, your enemy unit cannot fire Overwatch or set to defend against you.
Hmm.
I have taken this to a few GTs, and I have never been disappointed. I think it is great.
Okay.
I probably, and there is a lot of content. I'm going to put it here for the moment. I think
Mm.
there's a lot of contention about this because some people think, well, there's better options. You could just play better your scrub and like charge from behind a wall. But sometimes, you need a direct way of getting there, right?
So it's funny, it's almost like you read my mind because here's why you're wrong and bad at the game. So
Ah,
the first reason why it is absolutely not up in the top tier is because the
oof.
spell paroxysm exists. So if I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
turn
yeah,
off your Overwatch with a spell when I need to, yeah, that's
yeah. Okay.
just going to be what I'm going to do instead of
But it
picking a
is a
straight.
7 to cast, which pisses me off.
Why are you failing casts as Tyranids? Like, how does that
Ah,
happen?
because I'm too busy. No, sorry, not Catalyst, Paroxysm.
It's
So
because you drop the Neurothrope. That's why.
sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. Bring him
Yeah,
back. Bring him
guilty,
back
guilty.
with synaptic tendrils and just give everyone the beautiful +1 to cast or the 3d6
Mm.
cast and just nom nom nom.
Yeah, so
Flames.
Chris has said in the chat here with flamers so prevalent and in
CSM.
CSM and
So
demons, yeah,
flamers don't auto hit anymore.
they
They have to
don't.
roll to hit.
Yeah,
So yeah, I don't think there's very much in the game that I'm scared of charging that's going to overwatch me. It's kind of exclusively tied up to Tau.
Tau, which is
Um,
why I used to take this because for some reason I used to play Tau every 5 minutes.
yeah.
But no, I see your point, and
Yeah.
I agree. I do think it is nice to have because sometimes you will play like Synaptic Ganglia is great against Grey Knights.
Yeah.
This is great against Tau.
Yeah, but you know what I'd rather have against Tau? It's the next one again.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Unstoppable Swarm.
Yeah, because what is a Tau player
Yeah.
going to do when you charge in? They're going to try and, plasma pulse grenade you or
Very true.
minus your
And
charge. So
Custodi's the same, yeah.
yeah, Custodes, absolutely. You can kind of split the difference. You can go Augmented Ferocity or Unstoppable Swarm. Both are fine, depending on which army you're playing against. I think It's yeah,
Do you think
I'd
it's
put
in
it.
build around?
No, no, absolutely not. It's one that you take as in your back pocket. You're like, oh, I'm playing one of the 3 armies in the game that can make my life difficult if I tried to charge them. Cool.
So better than ambush predators or below ambush predators?
I think above. I think
Above?
ambush. You
Hmm.
know what? I'm changing my mind on ambush predators. I think it's not as good as we initially thought it was.
Is it actually the biggest
Yeah, I
trying too
think it
hard to
is.
polish its head?
The more I think about it, the more I'm like, but when would I take that, and when would I be happy about it? It's not really ever.
Yeah, you're
So
absolutely right.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay. I'm cool with that.
yeah.
Another interesting one here is Relentless Hunger, which the classic David Little's gone to a GT and cheated with it. So if you don't know what Relentless Hunger
Didn't cheat with it is
didn't
the
cheat with it, I
important
didn't.
point.
No,
Yeah,
that's the point. Yeah, I
yeah,
found out and then did not.
yeah.
So each time a unit fails a charge, you can move a normal 3 inches. I don't know if it's bad or it is trying too hard to polish its head.
I think it's trying too hard to polish it, and
Okay.
because I can see a use for it. If
Mm,
you want to get up the board and get on the objectives, you can, in theory. See, I've thought about this a fair bit, and I'm like, instead of advancing and rolling a 1 and a 2, because I love rolling 1s and 2s into
hmm.
1s and 2s on my advances. I'm
Oh
like,
yes.
I'm gonna walk up there, and instead I'm gonna advance, or I advance but not very far, so I'm gonna cast onslaught, and then I'm gonna move the extra 3 inches when I fail the 12-inch charge. And I was like, but when's that gonna come up? Like, when am I actually gonna do this? Like, it's a fun idea, but and then also, like you said, sometimes you roll a 9 into a 9, you accidentally succeed both your charges with your Neurothrope, and then you lose the game because you charge Berserkers.
Yeah. Are you a Magic the Gathering player or have been?
I know of.
Yeah. So for me, this is the classic. Sometimes you'll build a list or a deck in Magic the Gathering
It's a
to
Timmy
do the,
list.
the coolest, fanciest thing, right?
Yeah,
Like to try and I'm going to beat my opponent by doing backflips and cartwheels and all this
yep,
fancy stuff. They won't know what hit them. They're just going to be stood there shaking, going, "My entire game plan's falling to pieces, and I'm going to lose." You can do that, or you can just play a red deck and smack them in the face. And I
yeah.
think there's a lot to
Nid's
be
a
said about
red.
simplicity.
So, I'm sorry to be said about Slimpicity.
Sorry, I've had a Heineken. S- simplicity.
Very nice, very nice.
So how do you feel about it being here then?
How do I feel
Is
about
it
it
better
being?
than extra 3 inch of consolidation? Is it
I
better
think
than the parasite, or is it?
no. I think it's bad. Like, we've got to put some stuff in the bad tier. It's just bad. Like, why are you picking it? Why are you gimping yourself to
Yeah.
take it? There is nothing, like, even in feed, which is probably the weakest,
Mm,
there is at least two on there that I think are better.
yeah, true. This is I'm going to impress my friends and then watching as they laugh at you and table you.
Yeah, there's also two that I think are worse than
Oh
it in
wow, okay.
feed. So
Yeah, that's true. So getting
yeah,
onto those stabilizing membranes. This is
yeah.
so garbage. Not even as garbage as the next one. Each time a model with this adaptation makes a ranged attack on an unmodified wound roll of 6, improve the armor penetration of that attack by 1.
So the reason this is bad is
Hmm.
because basic maths.
Yeah.
So people might look at this and go, "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, a sixth of my hits are going to be, you know,
P2.
sure." But that means there's, like, what, 1 in 12, 1 in 18 dice.
Yeah.
Nids don't really have that much rate of fire that's worth taking.
No, they've got the
So
hive. You've got the hive thing that what you call it, the stupid Tyranids one that was successful the other weekend, but I've
don't
never seen
understand
anyone else
how.
take it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've no idea, no idea.
I was really hype on that when the book came out, and then, like, 3 weeks later, Armor of Contempt dropped, and I was like, "Oh, okay, so we're never
Mm.
using that gun, I guess."
Yeah.
Good times.
So bad or Ripperpoo?
Um, I think it's Ripperpoo because
Yeah.
it incentivizes you. If you're taking this, it incentivizes you to make your list worse by taking high rate of fire guns that are just not worth bringing. And
Yeah.
then you're going to stand out in the open and try and position yourself to shoot loads of times. And it's just going to be dog shit.
Yeah. Even if you're taking 60 termagants and 2 termagants or something along those lines, right? You're trying to build around that archetype.
Yeah.
You're still only getting, even if you really tried, you can
Yep.
take Devourers and they can have 2 shots each, and you could shoot 120 shots.
Excellent.
You'd still only get like a smattering of AP1, and because the rest of it's AP0.
Yeah.
So it's
Or
just
instead you could
trash.
take naturalized camouflage
Yeah.
or
Or
even exoskeletal reinforcements if you're playing that, that really meta AdMech 120 Vanguard list.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. All right. So the next one and the last one from the actual biomorphologies before we move into the high fleet ones.
Mm.
Exoskeletal stabilization, which has the most text, and sometimes when things have lots of text, it's good.
Mm.
Not always.
Remember when the Eldar Codex came out and everyone was like, "Holy shit, they have 4 bullet points, and all of them are good." And now we don't even see what's the world that Eldrad's from, the main one.
Ulthway.
Ulthway, yeah. Like, who even plays Ulthway? And they've got 4 good bullet points,
Yeah,
beaten
yeah,
by 1 Hail of Doom boy.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. Like people are playing Ulthway. It's probably the second most taken, but I get your point, right? You just
Yeah,
take a
but
bit of
not good players.
no, no. That's
Like,
true. That's fair, Ed. That's fair.
I did get beaten by someone playing Ulthway. I was playing a really bad Custodes list because I was like, this is the meta breaker. When I thought, in Nephilim, that sisters were going to be just the end of the world. Got that one wrong, and then I
Mm.
played a really bad Custodes Shadowkeeper list when mortal wounds were everywhere. That
We've had a
was
yeah. That's rough. That is
yeah.
rough. We've had a comment here for in the chat from the Warshed. God, I can't say that. Exoskeletal
Exoskeletal.
stabilization I found works well with Kronos when we had to pick during the list build. Man, I just
What
don't see
what
it.
are you taking that you
Yeah.
feel the need? So Nids don't have heavy weapons that are worth taking on models that have to move.
Um,
They
uh,
were
l-
they,
well, there
sorry.
aren't heavy venom cannons or stranglethorns, right?
Sorry. Yeah. So on
Rate of fire.
monsters they don't take the penalty. So that part of the bullet point is ignored.
Oh, sorry, we haven't read this out for anyone who doesn't know. So, quickly, models with this adaptation do not suffer the penalty hit for rolls incurred for firing assault weapons in the same turn that they advanced. Models with this adaptation do not suffer the penalty for hit rolls for firing heavy weapons in the same turn that they moved. And monsters do not suffer the penalty incurred for their hit rolls for firing heavy weapons at enemy units that are within engagement range of them. So, yeah,
Yeah, advancing and shooting army wide, like sure, but you don't even lose that much effectiveness. So the guns that you're going to be
mm,
advancing and shooting aren't worth ignoring the penalty on when you could take something else, in my opinion. Um, like I'm not sure what you'd be taking as Kronos that would be worth advancing and shooting
I,
with.
but I guess you could take what you call it. Well, no, because you don't get the benefit from the exocrine either, because the exocrine doesn't have minuses to move when it shoots, and it can't shoot in combat, so it can't benefit there.
hmm
So yeah, there's no benefit there either.
No, so especially with Kronos, because Kronos already has an adaptive spoiler for ahead. If you're in half range, get extra AP. I'd rather hit on 4s instead of 3s because I advanced, and then just get extra AP on my guns. I think that would be
Mm,
that more valuable for me.
that's true. All right, so where do you think it's living? I do think. Apologies, Warshed. I do think this is pretty rubbish. Is it bad
Yeah.
or is it Ripperpoo? I
Oh,
think
it's
it's
Ripperpoo. It's
yeah.
Ripperpoo.
I
He
think
says
it is.
he says I found myself going back to my standard Kronos adaptive recently. Yeah, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with playtesting things.
Oh,
Like it's
sure.
really easy for us to sit here and be hyperbolic and shit on something, but you know what happens when everyone does that? They just miss the things that are secretly good. So give it a. But now we get our adaptive traits back.
Yeah, now
The
we can
man
play
knows.
around with
He
it.
knows. Now we
Mm.
can. Now we can do things.
All right, let's get to some actual some interesting stuff actually, because I spoiler, I did a version of this before we started, and I put all
Mhm.
mine in. And I think some of these are the best actually. So let's look at Kraken first. Kraken's adaptive. Each time a unit with this adaptation advances, if it is not affected by the opportunistic advance stratagem or the bounding advance stratagem, do not make an advance roll instead. Until the end of the phase, add D3 plus 3 to the move characteristic of that unit. So you're getting a minimum of 4 to your advance. So
Four to
Ed, you
six in
like
your
rolling
advance.
ones and twos, right?
Yes, I love it. I absolutely love it.
So how do you feel about this?
I would put that in trying too hard to polish a turret.
I also agree. So
It sounds great, but
yeah.
it's not.
So I think it depends on your play style with Kraken, right? I think there's two ways
Mm,
to play Kraken. There's the way I did it, and progressively got worse as the edition went on, where I would missile a unit at someone, they would fight, I would hopefully trade up, and then score me some points.
mhm.
Or, and this is what funnily enough, Tom Lohman, uh, what would you call him? He's the deity of the show because we've got the captain, but I think Tom's the deity, right?
Fair enough.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of words. He could be the jester of the show. I don't know.
Mm,
Cool guy of 6++, Tom. Let's go with that. Let's bring it back down from deity. He was talking about pressure lists and talking about Kraken being a pressure list.
mm,
And it's not a pressure list in the same way that Orcs is, right? Because Orcs will just get in your face and fight you. Whereas I think Kraken do it through threat range, right? You can't come
sure.
forward because I'll
Mm,
just charge you. However, I think you need to jump through a few hoops to make this good because only one unit's going to get to benefit from this a turn if you cast Onslaught on them.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then you probably want to cast that on the one you've spent the stratagem on, right?
So on launch, I could have seen that as being a legitimate playstyle. The game was significantly less killy, which is wild to say because NIDs were out. But it was only NIDs that were really going to table you so much if you're in the open. Admech had been nerfed. Tau had
Mhm.
taken their first set of love taps. Custodes were great in melee, but they're more about their defensive tricks. And that was sort of like the top armies of the time plus NIDs. NIDs weren't shooting you off the board.
No.
So you could kind of, with 30-point Raveners, with 30-point
30-point
Pyrovores,
Ravenous.
yeah, the good old days. You could put just loads of bodies in the middle of the board. Say, I am going to advance towards you. I'm going to charge you next turn, and everything's going to have the one turn of the 5-up invuln. Deal with it. Cool. But now you've got 45-point Pyrovores, or is it no 40-point Pyrovores, 45-point Raveners.
No,
If you
no, it's
wanted,
45. It's 225 points for 5 of them.
yeah, 45 for the Raveners,
Yeah.
40 for the Pyrovores. I just overshot there a little.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Um, and you just don't have the full weight of wounds to put on the board. Plus, we're in a meta
Mm.
where there's a lot of guns.
I mean,
So
maybe. Yeah. If you took 9 Paravos, could this be good?
no,
Yeah.
like I.
Okay,
So
so you're
the
Kraken, right? You're Kraken. You start with this and you
yeah.
change it out for a feed or hunt, and you've got 9 Paravos in your list.
So if you're playing Kraken because you've picked violence and you want to kill something each turn with a single
Mm,
specific melee unit.
hmm
So you're taking augmented ferocity. I
Sure.
don't really think there's much choice there. You can't take the lurk tree, so you
No.
can't even sort of semi-build into territorial instincts, which is fine. You're going a different route. You're going sort of the mid-range bugs, I find.
hmm
So, yeah, you take augmented ferocity. It's what we were all doing when we were messing around with Kraken at the time. So I think bad. I would put the adaptive, honestly.
All right.
I know I said too hard to polish a turd. I've changed my mind. I think
Yeah.
it's
We've
bad
talked ourselves
because
into it being terrible.
yeah, because you're not doing anything. If you're going to advance one unit 8 inches every turn, maybe you'll advance a unit of Holmagorn 6 inches with the strat so they can charge as well. You're getting no value from your trade.
Mm. Well, I've got one that's worse than that for you.
Here we go.
Gorgon. All right, Gorgon. Each time. So bear in mind, this entire subfaction is based upon auto wounding
Mm-hmm.
or always wounding on 4s. Okay, fine,
Mm-hmm.
fine. Each time, basically, you can reroll 1 wound when resolving a unit's attack in melee.
Mm. So those sorts of abilities are really good when you take them on units with small number of high value attacks. It's why
Mm.
part of the Emperor's Chosen is so good for the Dreadnought build for Custodes,
Mhm.
because you're getting that single reroll. It's a high value reroll. You're probably rerolling your ones anyway from Trajan. So suddenly all of your high value attacks are being translated into saves for your opponent.
Mhm.
You're taking 3 squads of 15 Hormigons, which this is a rant for another time, but I think that list is bad. I am not
Ooh,
a fan at
interesting.
all. I think it's the
Yeah,
wrong
you
way
did
to play
blow mine
this.
off the board, didn't you, when you played me? Yeah.
Yeah, but like Tau we were playing long deployment. I had guns, you had small bodies. I don't think it was really it wasn't a test of skill. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Um, which is fortunate for you.
I was waiting. I was waiting. I was waiting.
Yeah, I
I had the
couldn't,
I had the
be
mitt
too
out. I'm like, I'm gonna
magnanimous.
catch it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So where are we putting it?
Oh, just dog shit. Like,
Yeah,
it's
dog shit.
ripper
Yeah.
poo. Why do I want to re-roll a single wound when I'm rolling, what is it, like 45 dice from 15 models? It's just
Yeah.
not worth it.
Ripper
Okay,
Poo
go.
seems to be winning at the moment. All right, Jormungandr. Each time, oh god, this is so shit. Each time a unit with this adaptation is targeted by a weapon with the blast rule, half the number of models in that unit rounding up when determining how many attacks are made. Right, that's there. Yeah.
Oh god, yeah, yeah. I'd forgotten
Yeah.
this existed, and
This.
my first like 4 or 5 events I went to with Nids last year, I was playing Yogmundur, but I forgot that existed because I always took territorial instincts. Like just every game, I straight swapped to it. God, that is so dog shit. Like
How bad is that?
so, it,
No, that must be the worst subfaction ability in the
if you
entire game.
swapped that, so it was on Gorgon, it would update it from Ripper Poo to bad, because at least there'd be some sort of like, this is the
Oh
swarm
yeah.
one. You probably want to go for swarms. It's still dog shit and change it, but Cronus is nice to have. Sorry, I magpied. I saw the chat move in the
Yeah,
corner of
yeah.
my eye. I was like, oh, piece
Scroll.
of candy. Chronos adaptive is nice to have at minimum, in your opinion, makes shooting bugs
Oh,
scary to space
well,
marines.
he's obviously timed it. He knows what's coming next. Right. Well,
He
let's
does
talk
know
about
what's
the
coming
Kronos
next.
one. So
Yeah.
each time a model with this adaptation makes a ranged attack against a unit within half range, improve the arm penetration by 1.
Yeah, so I think we can agree Ripperpoo, right?
Oh, Pua Warshed. He's trying, man.
No,
I don't
no,
think
I
it's bad.
absolutely agree. I think it's good.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's
I
nice
think
to have. I
I think it's
agree.
nice to have. Turn
Um,
1, your opponent's coming right in your face. You know that.
yeah.
Wording, apologies. And you phrasing. And you can get a turn of just absolutely hammering them. If you've got loads of monsters, you're going to get that extra AP shooting them in combat as well.
If you are running Pyrovores in drop
Yeah.
pods, which is something I know you like doing, if you shoot the 2d6 guns out of deep strike, you'll get the extra pip of AP. And going from strength 4 AP 1 damage to strength 4 AP 2 1 damage,
Mm.
sometimes that's going to pip it, and you're going to be like, oh, this is actually better. They're 1 wound models, but they've got a decent armor save. I didn't want to just make them roll loads of 3-ups because they're in cover. Now they're rolling 4-ups. I feel okay about this.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on
Yeah.
that.
I
Uh,
think so. I actually disagree. I need to point this out. I think Wreath and Shadow needs to be at least trying too hard to polish a turd after
really?
May. It's so bad.
It's
Just
not that bad
just
though.
just play the game correctly and use your psychic power to turn off Overwatch on the 3 units in the game that
But
need
I'm
to.
lazy and I forget.
Yeah, but don't be lazy and
Oh,
don't
fine.
forget.
Fine, I'll move all these ones up. God.
See, I'd have put it at the bottom, but I'm willing to compromise if you feel strongly
Thank you.
about it being. Yeah, yeah.
Look, when you crap at the game like I am, I say that I'm gonna win this. I'm gonna win this RT at the end.
Yeah, man,
This
I'm looking
RTC at the
forward
weekend.
to it.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
So Kronos, hold on. I'm just trying to think, where would we put it? Unstoppable Swarm is ignoring modifiers. I think it's better
I think
than
it's better than
Unstoppable.
naturalized.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I'd put it above Unstoppable. I can see more use case for Unstoppable.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Oh, can I? Nah, fuck it. I think it's above Unstoppable.
Unstoppable. What's unstoppable
Because
again?
because
That's
it's the ignore modifiers to your move and charge, your advance
yeah, good
move and
point. Yeah,
charge.
actually, yeah, yeah.
So like it's good, and when it's good, it's better, I think, but it's niche. So I'm happy saying Kronos is above there.
Cool, cool. All right. Chris has also preempted how crap Hydra is. So Hydra's one is add one. Well, okay. So add one to the move characteristic of um, each model with this adaptation. Every time they consolidate, add 3. So I don't think that's that bad.
It's funny
I
because you just don't see Hydra. What's its main trait?
its main trait is
Plus
you
one
get
to hit.
yeah
If
when you outnumber.
oh, okay.
It's all about outnumbering people. So what you do is you have that adaptive, and you can take Big Mama, Tervagon, and then for one turn you'll have +3 team movement. It's pretty
I
cool.
really like the Turbigon. I took it to a tournament. It was okay.
I like it, but I don't like moving all the models. It's a pain in the butt.
I don't think I ran it with any Termagons.
Shut up. Shut
Yeah,
up.
I think I just took it as a big bug. And
Hey,
then
we're
I
trying to
dropped
keep
it.
people listening to the chat, listening to the video, and you're talking about taking Tervagons without Tervagons.
I think I went 4-1 with it.
Stop it.
This was pre-nerf, so that's less of an
Ah, fair.
achievement, but
Yeah.
it's still.
Yeah. You probably put it in Leviathan and made it transhuman and just ran it at people.
No, I didn't like playing Leviathan. I did for LVO just because I had nothing better to run at the time.
LGT,
Yeah, I keep doing that.
not LVO.
Yeah, yeah. No, it would have been very
So,
sad
so
running
where
it.
are you finding this +1 move? And I mean, it must be better than heightened reflexes, right? Because it's the same thing nearly.
Plus one to
So it's
yeah,
+1
no,
to your...
that's so here's no. Before you move
Oh,
everything,
all right, okay.
I think it's actually at the top of bad, and that's because you have to play Hydra to take it,
Ooh, yeah,
which is
because there's
like
no list
it
I've ever
wanted
seen
to
that.
play a swarm army, but instead you could just play Gorgon, which I still
Yeah,
don't like, but is still better
you could
as a
play
swarm.
Leviathan, and it's still better than Hydra
I think Leviathan's really good still. You just
if you
have
were
to
taking Swarm, you mean.
skew against the warriors and go more for you take like 30 squad to 30 Termagants. You
Yeah,
give them the infun and the feel no pain and just go. I'm just going to win the primary game, guys.
yeah. I've got
Adam
unkillable.
Lane did it pretty recently. It was pre like most recent nerf, but he just stood it on objectives. It was like, oh, you've nerfed warriors. Shame.
Very nice. All right, second last one. Probably, I think I'm going to say my second favorite, Leviathan, which is
Mm.
reroll one hit roll when resolving a unit attack.
I mean, it's I don't like it
Really?
because it's not much direct power. It is objectively good, and when people were playing Leviathan Warriors, a lot of people kept it. Some people did take the what do you call it, the +1 to your charge augmented ferocity, because that's
Mm.
just good all of the time when you're playing a
Hmm.
melee army. But some people were leaning into the Carnifexes and taking that more. I
Yeah,
just don't know that it's enough to be worth like I don't know, like it's not bad. It's nice to have, I guess.
I think it's nice to have. It is. I find it really good in this Carnifex double hive tyrant list
Yeah.
where you want to get 3 shots, so you're going to miss one and then you reroll it and you hit. Like best feeling in the world. But it literally only works in that list.
Yeah.
I think anything else, if you're taking loads of warriors, you don't care. If you're doing anything else, you just do not care unless you have loads of Carnifexes in Leviathan. And if you want to take loads of Carnifexes, there is territorial instincts, which you'd have to take
Mm.
another high fleet for, screaming at you from the other side of the room, I'm better, I'm better. Why are you taking
Yeah.
Leviathan?
Yeah, Leviathan for me is the only way you can play it now is because you want to hyper buff one unit to be survivable. Give it the infun, give it the feel no pain from Catalyst, and I don't feel like it plays into that strength. But also, it's objectively not bad. It's nice having a reroll to hit. I'd rather have that
Hmm.
over a reroll to wound.
Hmm.
Um, in this army because there's poor access to rerolls to hit.
This is true.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think the bottom are nice to have is fine. I'm not happy about it, but I don't know where else
Is it
I'd
be-
put it.
is it better than naturalized camouflage? I think it's probably
That
better
is a
than naturalized.
question. Yeah, I guess. Go on. I resent this, but go on.
Um, is it better than Unstoppable Swarm? No.
When's the
In
man going
some
to stop?
matchups, no. These three seem to be okay. I'm up against this person with this army, and I have to deal with their specific threat. Whereas these
Yeah,
ones are kind of like, yeah, I'm hedging my bets.
yeah.
Yeah,
So the bottom two, I think, are just nice to have as like a whatever.
yeah.
Um, Whereas, yeah, the Kronos Kronos, I think is a build around. I just don't know that it's strong enough to put in build around.
Sure.
So like having it in nice to have feels about right. And Synaptic Ganglia in the matchups where it's good, which is basically
Is
the mirror match,
yeah.
it will win you the game.
The mirror or those none too common T-Suns. We should see loads of T-Suns. They've had a buff, remember, Ed? Oh,
No, I actually. So here's my hot take. I think it's actually a nerf because
yeah.
Thousand Suns didn't realistically give up much in the way
No, and they
of
didn't give up a ball, right?
a poor. Yeah, because you were running the big Scarab squads, and sure you might eventually chip through two, like kill two of the big Scarab squads. Well done. That gets you 4 points on a poor, and they've just kept the character safe. Like having
Yeah.
played into good Thousand Suns players, you didn't score it, so it's actually a nerf to Thousand Suns because people are now less likely to take it against them.
All right, Ed, we're up to our last one. Behemoth. The adaptive is you can re-roll charge rolls made for the units within your army with this adaptation.
So put
Tricky
it
one.
right up at the top, ahead of Territorial Instincts, because that's where it was.
Ooh.
That's where it was before they got rid of Stranglehold. And I just want to look at it for a few seconds, and then you can put it right down into bad.
Okay.
So
There you
the
go.
reason it was up there was because if you were playing Monster Mash, as I was, you could. This was, in my opinion, the best trait to have if you were playing big tanky beasts that wanted to shoot you off the board, which was a fantastic list. Problem is, Stranglehold went away, so you lost a lot of your passive scoring. And then the points went up, so you lost a lot of your models. And now you can't afford to play the cagey game with NIDS. You've got to play more aggressively, and you've got to be close. I don't know if you read out the behemoth trait, but the long and short of it is if you're over 12 inches for small models, 18 inches for big models, you're -1 to hit.
No, what are you talking about? That's Jormungandr. Are you all right,
You
Ed?
bamboozled me. No, don't you. Are you all right, me? You've missed one off the fucking list.
Where?
Where's your Thunder?
There.
Why is
That's
it
the
on
blast
there?
one. That's the blast one.
We haven't. Oh fuck! I've done myself, haven't I?
You have done yourself,
Oh,
mate.
Well, it's all right. Fortunately, this isn't live, and we can just cut it out in post.
Oh no, yeah, Chris, edit that and post, mate.
Yeah, yeah.
So where are we moving this then? Do you think it's bad? Because
Fuck. What even is it?
is it good with behind enemy lines? Can it work with that?
Read it out for me, boyo.
So re-roll your charges. Because the thing is, you can choose that, or you can have augmented ferocity. So you can have
Yeah,
+1 to charge, or re-roll your charges.
I think. Is there ever a time that you'd want to re-roll? Yes. So the use case for the re-rolls is when you're looking to make multiple charges in one go. So if you're playing a game where you're trying to pressure and you're trying to get lots of charges off, like if you've maybe deep struck multiple units, drop pods, not Morlocks, Trigons, because the Morlock's not going to charge out deep strike, yada yada. At that point, the reroll's better.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not making multiple long charges, the +1 is better because you can always CP a reroll. Yeah. How do you feel about it?
I feel like it's. If you, man, it's tough. It's
It
super
is,
tough.
isn't it?
I don't know which one of these is better. I think I'm not good at maths enough to figure out which one is +1 to charge better than re-rolling charges.
Yes. So maybe not in terms of like the pure dice. I think re-rolling charges is better on the pure dice, but the problem is you can always CP if you need to. And you can, the strat that nobody uses because we don't have any
Shard
CP.
lure.
Yeah, we don't have any CP to spend anymore. If you combine it with Shard Lure out of Deep Strike, you can get a 8-inch charge on 3d6, drop the lowest, re-rollable. You don't fail that charge. It's very difficult to fail. So, yeah, I think you just go.
So then it simply just goes to like here then, doesn't it? Because augmented ferocity is better.
I think, and this is me being completely inconsistent with how I've rated other things, I'd still put it in like the middle tier. It's too good to drop to bad. Like re-rolling charges on a combat army, it's always good. It's just not you know,
It's just not as good as augmented, and you would just
augmented
take
is just
augmented.
gooder.
It's just good, unless, as you say, you need to get loads of charges off.
That's the
Yeah,
only time.
maybe you're in a game where you are going to literally fight, literally just massive big tear up in the middle.
The problem is, I don't think in the current game state
No, we
and the
can't
way
get away
that
with that.
Tau Nid lists are built, I don't think there is a time that you would feel like that before the game. There might be some turns in games where you're like, oh fuck, I wish I had this, but like I don't think it's the right one to hedge your bets on
What
personally.
about Necrons, right? So say you're up against Necrons, they're going to go and
Mm.
score their secondaries quickly, and you need to get into them as soon as possible. You don't want one unit getting in there, right?
I mean, I don't know. It's difficult because I don't even consider Necrons an army anymore.
No,
Uh,
no.
at
I'm just
least
trying to
not
think of
the
armies like sisters. All right, you've got the secure the shrine, and you want to put loads of units on. Well, you don't really want to put one. You want to put one unit in there, don't you? As obsec.
yeah
No, it's
because
crap. You're right.
yeah.
I'm
Like
trying to figure out a way.
it's not bad, but it's just never like I never want to pick it. I feel like other things are better. But if I forget to change it, like I'm like, oh, that's a shame. Oh well.
Oh well, yeah,
Yeah,
sure. I'll take that. Cool. Well, Ed, we're done.
we are done.
How does that feel?
Yeah, no, that was a lot of fun. I got to tell
You
you
got to
about the
learn about
game.
Tyranids again.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Uh, well, no, it's fine. You're gonna prove me wrong. You're gonna go 3-0 tomorrow. That's the plan.
Sunday, but yes, 100% going through.
Tomorrow's tomorrow. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. But yes, my Tesco shop's just arrived, so I will have to depart. But
Excellent
thank you
timing.
all for listening to us blabber on about Tyranids again and going on about Tyranid biomorphologies. What do you think? Do you think these are the right ratings? Do you think they're bad ratings, good ratings? Tell us a bit more. Any use cases that you think are really important in today's meta? We want to hear them. We might revisit this if we get loads of comments or loads of suggestions that it's wrong and that we're both idiots. So please
Mm.
make us do that. I
And
doubt
it
that will be the case.
let us know if you like it because I think we could also do synaptic imperatives. I think that's one that's worth
Yeah,
looking at.
well, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, Ed thought about this just before we came live. He said, "Should we do synaptic imperatives?" Let's talk
Well,
synaptic
no, what
imperatives.
I actually said is you asked me to do something and I agreed immediately without reading it, and I thought we were doing something else.
Yeah, Ed
But
thought we
that's
were doing
absolutely
something.
fine.
So awesome. Right. Well, thank you very much for listening, guys. Goodbye. Have a good evening or morning or wherever you are, and we will see you probably on Tuesday for the next 6++ show. Goodbye.
Feast on the biomass of your enemies.